I contributed over $18,000 to my brother's wedding, then got this invite +1. If she's hot otherwise come alone. I didn't argue, I just brought her. She handed the bride a folder hours later. The wedding was off and my brother was calling his lawyer in panic. I wish I could say the invite shocked me that it but burst into my mailbox like some flaming insult, sinking the edges of my optimism. But the truth, it barely registered, just felt like Roger. It came printed on pearl cardstock, very fancy, with cursive names, a location that screamed daddy's credit line, and the usual black tie, preferred nonsense. I skimmed past the RSVP instructions, already knowing I'd be there. I'd helped fund it after all. Then I saw it +1, if she's hot otherwise come alone, written in his handwriting, a little smiley face at the end like that made it funny. I didn't throw it away, I didn't call him, I didn't even say. I just set it down on my kitchen counter next to the half-eaten toast and stood there for a moment, chewing the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. $18,000. That's what I gave him, no questions asked, no strings attached, because I thought for the first time in his overprivileged man-child life Roger had finally grown up, that he was ready to settle down, start fresh, stopping being the guy who measured women by cup size and Instagram filters. I wanted to believe the wedding meant something. Then he sent me that note. So no, I didn't argue. I didn't show up with a soapbox or scene. I just brought her. The reaction was immediate. Roger was at the entrance laughing with the groomsmen like he was additional for a beer commercial, all teeth and smugness. Then he looked up and sauce, and his whole body tense like someone had sucker punched him in the gut. He recovered fast, but not fast enough. His smile faltered, his voice cracked. I watched him excuse himself mid-laugh, barely finishing his handshake with one of Camilla, his uncle, before speed walking over to me. "What the hell are you doing?" he muttered low and sharp, like we were co-conspirators and a hostage situation. I blinked. "Attending your wedding." He didn't laugh. "Why would you bring her here?" he hissed. I gave him the most innocent look I could manage. "You said if she's hot." Roger stared at me like I kicked a puppy in front of him. My +1, for the record, didn't say a word. She smiled just slightly and walked past him, heading toward the bar with the slow, graceful calm of a woman who knows exactly what she's doing. Roger watched her go like she might detonate, and then he spiraled. He spent the entire ceremony twitching like you. He had been in his tux during the vows. He kept glancing over his shoulder during the toast. His smile looked more like a dental spasm. His hands were shaking so badly when they cut the cake, the knife slipped and took out a corner of the top tier. Camilla laughed it off, but even she looked confused. And then came the reception people. We're dancing, laughing, toasting champagne, pretending this was a fairy tale ending and not the beginning of a train wreck. And right in the middle of it all, my +1, elegant, ice cold, walked up to Camilla and handed her a folder. No drama, no scene, just a quiet handoff. Camilla opened it, read the first page, and everything changed. She didn't scream, didn't faint, didn't slap anyone across the face like a soap opera. She just stood up, walked out of the ballroom, and disappeared. Roger followed her fast. Guests started whispering. The music stumbled to a stop like it had lost its rhythm, and then someone, I think it was the wedding planner, got on the mic and said, "There's been a slight delay. Please enjoy." The order arrives 10 minutes later. A bridesmaid walked out and announced that the wedding was off. No explanation, no follow-up. And just like that, Roger Hubbard's perfect day turned into a PR crisis. I walked out of the venue quietly. He thanked the valet and watched as Roger stood in the corner of the marble foyer, phone pressed to his ear, muttering furiously into the receiver. I didn't hear much, just one phrase loud and clear: "I need to speak to my lawyer now." If you want to understand how we got here, how wedding turned into a silent scandal with a lawyer on speed dial, you have to understand Roger and a family, which is a lot like saying if you want to understand the car crash, first meet the drunk driver. Roger Holberg wasn't just the golden child, he was the blueprint for every teenage heartthrob in a CW drama. Tall, smirky, mysteriously damaged. Except the only thing that was damaged was his sense of accountability. My parents worshipped him like he cured cancer. Every time he remembered to put the milk back in the fridge. If you got a B in math, he was too creative for numbers. If he crashed dad's car, it's 17. Well, drunk boys will be boys. When I reminded them he could have killed someone, Mom said I needed to stop being jealous, right? Meanwhile, I got grounded once for putting a sticker on my bedroom door because it was permanent damage to the property. That's the kind of household we came from, where Roger's dating life was treated like a sport. They could all root for dad. Used to give him advice like, "Don't text back too fast, keep her guessing." Mom called it playing the game. If I ever mentioned a girl, she squinted, ask, "Oh, is she nice?" which was code for not hot enough for Roger, but fine for you. They called me the responsible one, which sounds nice until you realize it was just their polite way of saying I wasn't charismatic enough to get away with being awful. Roger always had a new girl, always from middle school through adulthood. There was a never-ending stream of you probably shouldn't get too attached relationships. He'd charm them, impress them, take them on over the top. Dates he couldn't afford, then ghost them when the compliments stopped rolling in. And then there was her. I didn't know her name back then, just that she was the girl Roger took on that ridiculous vacation, the one he wouldn't shut up about. Bali, I think, or maybe the Maldives, somewhere that looks like a postcard and costs more per night than my monthly rent. And he bragged about it for months, told everyone he pulled it off with zero help, said he got an upgrade because the hotel staff loved him, claimed she was obsessed with him, and he had to let her down gently because she got to clinging. He made it sound like just another victory lap, another beautiful wide-eyed girl who didn't know what she was signing up for. Just a pit stop on the way to his next big ego trip. But the truth, that trip wasn't a flex, it was a setup. 2 years later, I found out what really happened. He invited her, Stephanie Amaro, on the trip under the pretense that he was paying. Booked flights, shared travel plans, the whole fantasy. Told her he had savings, that he wanted to spoil her. She believed him. They arrived, checked in, ordered wine, took sunset selfies. And then suddenly Roger had a problem with his card, just a minor issue, bank glitch, totally temporary. Could she just spot him until it cleared? It never cleared. She paid for the first dinner, then the next, then the massages, the boat ride, the excursions, the $500 beachside dinner for the memories. He made big promises, told her he'd Venmo everything when they got back. She believed him. You know what she got instead? Ghosted a week after they landed back in the States. Roger blocked her, changed his number, disappeared. He had left her with thousands in credit card debt, a broken heart, and the kind of psychological whiplash you don't recover from quickly. And because she wasn't rich, the interest alone buried her. She almost sued, but that would have meant dragging herself through courtrooms and questions and family shame, so she let it go, sorta. She kept everything, the receipts, the screenshots, the messages where he promised to pay or back the hotel charges that didn't even include her, like the massage for one, while she waited alone. Every lie, every charge, every broken promise. I didn't know any of this until 2 months ago. I ran into her by accident. It did, a friend of a friend sitting at the same bar. She recognized me instantly. I had no idea who she was, just that her eyes were sharp and calm and cold in a way that made me feel like I owed her an apology even before she spoke. We got to talking. She didn't bring up Roger at first, just asked what I did, where I lived. The kind of soft conversation that brushes the surface without breaking the ice. Then later, when the bar got quieter and the drinks got stronger, she asked, "Is your brother still a professional con artist, or did he retire?" That's when it clicked. I listened. She told me everything, not dramatically, not with tears, just facts. Like she'd rehearsed it 100 times in her head, and now finally had someone to hear it. I didn't interrupt. I didn't defend him. And I didn't doubt a word. When I got that wedding invite, I thought I'd toss it, maybe sent back the RSVP with the middle finger doodled in the margins. But something stopped me, not revenge, not pay. Adidas closure. Roger, how to be used, exploited, and never once paid the price. Not at home, not socially, not financially. He always walked away clean. But this time he was walking into marriage with someone smart, someone who didn't deserve to start a life based on a lie. So I called Stephanie. I didn't ask her to make a scene. I didn't ask her to blow anything up. I just told her the truth. He hadn't changed, she said. Yes, she showed me the file she kept all this time, organized, labeled, itemized, like an accountant building a case. Not just the money, but the emotional timeline, the promises, the betrayal. We printed everything, tucked it into a clean black folder, and brought it to the wedding. I didn't tell anyone who she was until it was already done, until the wedding was off, until Roger was calling his lawyer in a panic. That woman in the black dress, the one who smiled politely and handed the bride a folder like it thing, that was Stephanie, immoral, the girl he swore didn't matter, the girl he left in ruins, the girl who now held the match, and that folder that wasn't revenge, that was justice. The wedding was off, but no one knew why. There was no announcement, no official explanation. To silence, Camilla left without a word. Roger vanished shortly after, and the guests were left blinking under the chandelier, years still holding half-empty glasses of champagne like props in a paused movie. The first few people trickled out, orked Ridley, then the band started packing up. Eventually, even the waitstaff stopped pretending the night was salvageable. Most of Roger's friends looked confused. Some of them looked relieved. My parents, on the other hand, looked furious. But not at Roger. Oh no, Mom had that tight, brutal smile she wears when she's about to say something horrible in a tone that sounds almost polite. I'm sure Camilla just got overwhelmed. She told the cousins near the dessert table, some women can't handle real commitment. Dad nodded along like they were experts on the psychology of young brides, like their son's wedding hadn't just collapsed. in front of them because of a single folder. Stephanie had handed over like it was nothing more than a seating chart. Roger didn't come home that night. Or the first wave of post-wedding gossip came 2 days later. Camilla had gone silent, deleted her social media, cancelled her honeymoon tickets, no official statement, just vanished. Which meant, of course, the speculation exploded. One of Roger's friends posted something vague and oily. Some people show their true colors when it's too late. Proud of you for staying strong, man. Another commented that Camilla had always been cold and calculating, which was rich coming from the guy who once got blackout drunk at a holiday party and tried to kiss the coat rack. The consensus on the I was quick. Camilla bailed. Camilla broke his heart. Poor Roger. Stephanie and I said nothing. I wasn't interested in a public war, but silence doesn't always protect you. On day 3, my phone rang. It was Mom. She didn't even say hello, just launched straight into what did you do. I took a long break and sat on the edge of my bed. Nice to hear from you. To don't play dumb, Daniel. She snapped. Roger told us everything. Oh, I bet he did. He said you brought that woman Stephanie just to cause drama, that you manipulated her into pulling some stunt and ambushed Camilla on her wedding day. I could practically hear Dad in the background, probably pacing with a glass of scotch, feeding her lines. I said, did Roger tell you what was in the folder? That's not the point. She snapped. You humiliated your brother on the biggest day of his life. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. I just said maybe he shouldn't have humiliated her 2 years ago when he drained her bank account and vanished. There was a pause, a sharp, brutal silence that told me she wasn't shocked, just pissed. I said it out loud. We're a family, she finally said, her voice low and trembling with performative hurt. You don't betray family like this. I didn't betray anyone, I said. I just stopped covering for him. Click. She hung up. By day 4. 5, the narrative started to shift. Camilla, cousin Riley, sent me a message, short and hesitant. Hey, I know something happened. I just want to know the truth. I checked with Stephanie. She nodded. So we sent Riley the digital folder. Everything. A day later it leaked, not by us. Riley swore it wasn't intentional, said someone in the group chat, just couldn't believe it, and forwarded it. And then it spread like wildfire. Suddenly the story was out. And it was brutal, not just the receipts and charges from the trip, but the exact dates. The screenshots of texts were Roger told Stephania he wanted to go somewhere special just weeks after he'd started dating Camilla. It wasn't just fraud, it was emotional cheating, lies layered like a wedding cake. Camilla, his friends, confirmed the timeline quietly at first, then publicly. Someone commented under one of Roger's old Instagram posts, imagine getting exposed by a folder legend. Another your therapy. Pissed, must be exhausted. The comments came fast. Then the DMs, then the email from his employer requesting an urgent values review. Roger tried to do damage control. He posted a notes app screenshot about how he wasn't perfect but had always acted with love. He disabled comments. 30 minutes later, day 7, phone call started again. Mom, then Dad, then Roger himself. This time I didn't pick up. I didn't need to. The voicemails told me everything. You've ruined him. My mom's voice said, trembling, we're doing everything we can, but he's falling apart. Dad was more direct, this goes public. Any further, you're dead. Have a business partnership with Roger. His boss didn't even wait for the values review. They let him go that afternoon. And then Stephanie, I did what she'd been waiting to do for 2 years. She filed a lawsuit, financial damages, emotional distress, fraud. It was clean, professional, bulletproof. Roger found out with the hours. By day 10 he lawyered up with money he didn't have. And then he hit back, a defamation suit filed against me. His angle that Stephanie and I were in on it from the start, that we plotted to sabotage his life for revenge. He claimed we fabricated parts of the folder, that we exaggerated timelines, that we'd deliberately manipulated the narrative to destroy his relationship, career, and mental health. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came on day 12. I got a knock on my door, official envelope in hand. Inside was a sworn affidavit from a woman named Rebecca Lane claiming she overheard Stephanie and me in a cafe weeks before a wedding, plotting the whole thing like some twisted game of social Jenga. A fake witness, an actress, I'd later find out. But at that moment I sat on the couch with the document in my lap, hands trembling, heart racing across from me. Stephanie, it was already searching the name. My phone buzzed. It was Mom, your father. And I took out a loan on the house. She said, her voice brutal, we're helping Roger fight this. You better hope for your sake that you're wrong. I looked out the window. Snow's falling, quiet, steady. Everything else felt loud, shaky, dangerous. I didn't answer her. I just ended the call, turned back to stay Anthony, and said, we need to finish this. I didn't sleep the night. We got the affidavit. Stephanie asked on the couch, laptop open, fingers flying as she dug through every possible mention of Rebecca Lane. She found a handful of local theater listings to paid reviews from something called the Honeybee Fringe Festival, and a headshot that screamed aspiring soap star who never quite got her villain arc. By 3 a.m. we'd mapped out her entire fake career. The only thing missing was her connection to my parents. We didn't have to wait long. 2 days later Stephanie got a DM anonymous account, just one line. They paid her $8,000 up front. She was supposed to cry on the stand. Attached was a photo, a blurry screen grab of a more payment between Walter Holberg and someone named R Communications LLC. We'd found the thread. All we had to do was pull. When Roger's trial began, it was supposed to be a circus. He showed up with a high-priced lawyer and an attitude that screamed misunderstood genius. His defense was a mix of Nile gaslighting and Polish language about perception gaps and emotional misalignment. Rebecca took the stand on day 2. She looked nervous, over rehearsed, theatrical in a way that only works on stage, not under oath. When asked to describe what she'd heard, she rattled off a clearly memorized script. She said they were going to make him pay, that they were going to destroy him at the wedding. I remember thinking, wow, these people are vindictive. She paused, expecting gasps. She got silence. Then Stephanie, his lawyer, stood up. Mississippi Lane, do you recognize this photo? The Van Most screenshot was printed, enlarged, and held up like the final clue in murder mystery. Rebecca blinked, stalled, said she'd have to check with her agent. Her voice cracked. 2 hours later, she confessed off the record first, then officially said she was approached by family friends and told she'd be compensated for setting the record straight. The affidavit had been pre-written. All she had do was sign. The judge's face said it all. Roger's entire case crumbled like a wedding cake left out in the rain. Stephanie won every penny of what she lost, was ordered returned with interest. The judge acknowledged the emotional distress, the fraud, and the public defamation. A note was added to the record. Future charges for surgery or obstruction were under consideration for Roger. And for my parents, I walked out of that courthouse feeling like I exhaled for the first time in months. Roger didn't look at me once the fallout came fast. His criminal record went public. He was formally charged with financial misconduct. Couldn't get a new job, couldn't get a loan. Camilla, his father, released a quiet statement to his investors, distancing himself from an individual no longer affiliated with our operations. His social media dried up overnight. No more movie quotes about growth, no more throwback photos with captions like "from nothing to something." He wasn't nothing, he was just finally seen for who he really was. My parents didn't take it well. They lost the house, the loan they took to hire Roger's legal team tipped them into default when the repayment dummy. The men I heard from a cousin, they moved into a small apartment in a part of town they used to call shady. They never called me, but they did try one last thing. An email subject line, "Can we talk?" Body was still your parents. What's done is done. Families move forward. Let's sit down. Justice, you don't need to involve her. No names, no apologies, just entitlement. Dre's